Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore semuanya. Saya dari Singapura, orang Melayu Singapura. Bisa ngobrol dalam bahasa Melayu, bahasa Indonesia. Tapi buat presentasi ini saya bahasa Inggris, boleh ya? Boleh. Saya mau tanya dulu, orang ini masih kuliah di sini? Kuliah. Okay, about 50%. Okay. Okay, so maybe a bit of introduction. So I'm from NUS Enterprise. It's a department that promotes innovation in entrepreneurship in NUS, right? Disclaimer: I'm not a lecturer. Yeah, I'm not a lecturer, but I've been involved in startups. Maybe a bit of background. I started my career as a consultant. With Accenture, IBM, I did a lot of projects in Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, Philippines, and even Australia, right? I've been involved in startups even from the year 2000, right? The first internet.com. Anybody here born after 2000? Wow, okay. Okay. So, yeah, after that, when the crisis happened, the tech internet bubble burst, I actually also helped a few companies, MNCs, start up their operations in Singapore, right? And in the recent wave of digital economy, I've helped startups from Indonesia, startups from Malaysia expand in Singapore. So now with NUS Enterprise, still working with startups, but not just for startups, right? So again, thank you very much for having me here. I'm very honored to be here speaking to you all at Amicom. So my topic today is about startup opportunities in Southeast Asia, right? So I'm just going to give you a preview because the opportunities I'm going to cover is that how big is the market, what are the challenges, where are we now, and what's next, right? So I believe those who are having their own startups or those who are now students thinking of starting their own startup, you are now in a good time to start something which is different from other startups, right? And I also believe when I first joined my startup in year 2000, at that time, your parents are still not very open to you working for a startup or starting your own startup, right? Tapi sekarang because of like a well-known brand like Gojek, Traveloka, Bukalapak, so it's not strange for you to work in a startup. So now is a good time to do that, right? Tak kelihatan. Okay, the map, the screen doesn't show the map that I have, right? So imagine the map of Southeast Asia over there, yeah? So actually Southeast Asia, or sometimes I call ASEAN, there are 10 countries, but the founding members is about 5 countries. Then today I'm just going to speak about 6 countries in ASEAN, right? The biggest population is obviously Indonesia, right? I think last I read was about 265 million people, right? Then you have Philippines, it's about 100 plus million. And then you have Vietnam, which is a very big market and upcoming one now, close to 100 million. And then there's Thailand, I think it's about 50. Malaysia is around 20 million. And last but not least, Singapore, 6 million people. Yeah. So these 6 countries is about 550 million people. Okay. But the whole of ASEAN, if you include all the 10 countries, is 650 million people. Right. So very huge market. And I think the economy is predicted by 2050. ASEAN or Southeast Asia will be the 4th largest market in the world, right? So you all should be very excited. You know, maybe some of you have read about it if you're not old enough yet. in the past, it used to be the Japanese who were very strong in Southeast Asia, right? Anything Japanese, or something in Asia, any Japanese brand will be good. And then the Koreans, right? And then India got very big. Now China, but China also having some challenges with America and so on. So I believe if we all work together in ASEAN, the next big superpower in terms of economy is us, ASEAN here, right? But the challenge is, ASEAN is not one big country. It's many countries. But because of challenges, there are also problems, there are also opportunities for you who want to build your own startup to solve. Yeah? So for each of these countries, I will go through the top three, right? The best way to understand what's the market, what's the opportunity in this country, what is the top three startups. Universities are important because you're a part of university, and universities are always a good source for talent for startup. Government supporting agencies. We look at countries, if the government doesn't really support or have initiatives to help startups who are trying to grow, it will be challenging, and so on. Right? Wow, I cannot see the picture. Is there a way we can load the PDF one instead? Yeah. Yeah, I have some GIF there. I think it's not coming out. There's some technical problem there. So let's try to sort it out first. While they're trying to figure it out, that's going to follow up. So, yeah, ASEAN, very important region, and it has all these countries, and later on I will share with you all the various data that will show you where the opportunities are. I wish I can sing and dance here, but I can't. You do not want to hear me sing or see me dance. Yeah. Maybe just to also have a little bit of survey, how many of you already have startups over here? Okay, very good. Very good. Quite a small number. How many intend to do your own startup? Okay. Of all the people that have startups, how many of you are doing tech startup? So maybe while waiting, I also want to share with you my journey in entrepreneurship. Maybe there's something that you can share. Actually, I studied in NUS. I was a graduate of electrical engineering. I was never an electrical engineer, right? So I joined consultancy to learn more about business, how to, grow a business. And then because I was part of a big project, I realized I don't learn enough, so I started to join a small team and startup so I can learn how to build a team. So the message to you, and I have done this a few to university students as well, is that it doesn't matter what you study before you start your own business, right? I think a few of the speakers this morning also say, for example, that the founding team, you need to have a balance, you need to have a few people, right? So you might not know the technical part, you can also found a startup because then you can always partner with somebody who knows the technical part, right? If you know the technical part but you don't know the business, you can always partner with somebody who knows the business part. The other interesting thing about my profile is that I work with a lot of startups and so on, but I've never started my own startup. Yeah? Yeah? So a lot of people ask why and so on. I always say that every founder needs a wingman, right? Every Mark Zuckerberg has a Shelly Sandberg behind, right? Every Bill Gates has a Steve Allen, right? And so on and so forth. So to be entrepreneur doesn't mean you need to create your own startup, right? So you can work with startups to learn about how do you start building a business. By building a business, how do you look for customers? How do you look for people? And then once you get customers and people, how do you run the business, the operations, right? The legal part you need to learn, the financial part you need to learn, right? So I guess the whole point here is that entrepreneurship is just about a mindset, right? So today especially, and this is what we're trying to do in NUS as well, being an entrepreneur doesn't mean you have to own a business. Being entrepreneurial is about the mindset, right? And then this mindset can apply to even though you're not running a business, right? So what is entrepreneurship, right? Basically, you have to solve a problem, right, with limited resources and convince somebody that this solution will work or they will buy the solution, right? So it's something you do not only in a business, but also when you work in a corporate. Right? You must convince your boss. Boss say, I need you to solve this problem, and these are the only people you have, these are the only resources you have. So you still need to solve the problem, right? Let me check on the, okay? Lagi. Yeah. I don't have any jokes to tell like that. Ready, you can just load the PDF file that should have all the images. Okay, okay. So this was the map, yeah? So as I said, 570 million, Indonesia is the biggest, and followed by Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore, right? So I've only listed 6 countries here, but actually ASEAN has 10 countries. Why I only listed these 6? Because these are the up and coming economy, right? FYI, the other countries are Brunei, Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar, right? Which are maybe not ready yet. Okay. Next. Next, please. So yeah, so by region. So Indonesia, in alphabetical order, yeah. So Indonesia, I think I don't have to go into detail. What's your top 3 startups here? You have all the unicorns. 3 out of 5 are shown there. In terms of top universities, yeah, you have that one UI in Jakarta, ITB in Bandung, and UGM in Jogja, right? So in terms of VCs, you have various. Any of you familiar with any of these VCs? No, right? So let me explain a bit. So East Ventures is a VC based out of, I think started in Indonesia, but I think they have offices in Singapore and Japan. So they focus more on early stage startup, seed and funding, right? So why is this all important? I'm telling you all this because by knowing what are the startups, who are the universities that can provide the talent, who are the active VCs in the country, then you will know whether it's worthwhile for me to go to that country or not. Yeah? Okay. And Alpha JWC Ventures, I know they were in the news for other reasons recently here, but they are focused more on fintech and social impact startups. So again, different. And then Pembicara is a bit different. Pembicara is an investor that brings along all the founders to sort of share best practices and so on, right? So investors, I think the question early on, there's different types, so it's important for you to know. Agencies, there's Kementerian Kominfo, which is quite aggressive and also very open now to have startups and also support to a certain extent startups from overseas. And Kementerian Perindustrian, they have done a lot of initiative in Industry 4.0, right? So Indonesia is very prime for that. Next. So Malaysia. So Malaysia, the top few startups. Anybody familiar with those 3? Right? Oh, okay. So iFlix is like Netflix, but it's from Malaysia, right? So mainly a lot of local content, TV shows, movies, and so on, right? Doing very well in Malaysia, but I've yet to see it expand beyond Malaysia. Custom is a platform where allows people to sell used cars in Malaysia, right? Second-hand car. I think Nexu is to like how you engage your customer in a mobile platform. So a lot of in terms of universities, these are the top few universities. Most of them are located in Kuala Lumpur, the capital itself, right? So in terms of talent and so on, if you need to look for tech talent in Malaysia, it's actually in Kuala Lumpur. VCs, 500 is part of the 500 startup, a very famous VC from Silicon Valley. And then Cradle and MathCap are the local agencies that do that. So Malaysia is very aggressive in terms of supporting agencies. The ones at the bottom are from the government. Like MAGIC, it stands for Malaysian Global Innovation and Creativity Center. Their purpose is they want to make Malaysia the startup capital of the region. Right? Whoa. Jangan tidur ya. Yeah. So even Magic, I know, for example, I was working for a Malaysian startup. They're very aggressive to help Malaysian startups expand to other parts of Malaysia as well. Next, please. Philippines. So Philippines is very interesting. Philippines, traditionally, a lot of the technical skills are more on the back-end processing. like mainframe and so on, and there's a lot of outsourcing. So maybe that defines the way the startup opportunity in Philippines is. So the top few startups, I think like Xenia is an online platform for you to connect with physical trainer or physical therapist. Yeah. Sprout, very standard, I think, backend HR and payroll processing. The interesting thing is coins.ph. Coins.ph is a peer-to-peer platform that you can pay your friends or crowdfund or peer-to-peer lending as well. Right? In terms of universities, again, like Malaysia, all the top universities are in Manila, right, in the city itself. So as you can see, like Malaysia, Philippines is similar. That's why we like Indonesia, because there's a lot of universities spread out across Indonesia, right? And then that will also support the ecosystem over there. Right? Most of the VCs there are CVCs or corporate VCs that we have learned, right? And then obviously they are supporting agencies as well. Next. Singapore, right? My home country. Yeah? So startups, Grab is the biggest one. You all know who is Grab. Lazada, everybody should be familiar, right? Yeah, e-commerce, right? C? No? But if I tell you who they own, you will be familiar. They own Shopee. Right? Right? So C, previously known as Garena, they do a lot of online gaming. And now they are in Shopee. So one ride-hailing, two e-commerce apps. Universities, number one is NUS. I might be biased, but that's it, right? And then NTU, and the new one, SMU, right? So each of these universities also has incubation. NUS have NUS Enterprise, that's where I come from. NTU has Intuitive. SMU, I forgot the name, but they also have something similar. Right? VCs, we have a few local ones and regional ones. Like Golden Gate, they do pre-seed to Series A, whereas Mang Seal go to post-seed. Right? Whereas Jungle, they do more funding to startups, not only Singapore, startups that have a focus to expand across the Southeast Asia region. Right? Later on, you will see that Singapore is an interesting place to look for VCs. Right? Look for VCs. So in terms of supporting agencies, there's Enterprise Singapore. So Enterprise Singapore provides funding to startups. Right? They also help startups expand to other parts of the world. Right? So I have, for example, Block 71 team. We run two programs where we bring Singapore startups to Indonesia, and that program is funded by Enterprise Singapore. So they're very aggressive about that. Then of course, Mission Malaysia Foundation and ACE. ACE is also part of Enterprise Singapore, but they run incubation, they run programs, right? So Singapore, obviously a very small country. The market is very small. So a lot of the startups, once they set up, they want to hunt the rest of the ASEAN region. Right? They want to have the ASEAN one, right? They want to have the 650 million people, right? So this could be competition as well. But again, there's enough market in the world for everybody to benefit from. All right? Next, please. Thailand. So Thailand is the next one. In terms of startups, I don't think you all are familiar. I think e-commerce is e-commerce platform, as the name mentions. means, I think, is more like peer-to-peer lending as well. I think Pomelo, maybe some are familiar, is online fashion shopping platform. Yeah. So similarly, they have universities. Quite a number of them are in Bangkok, and then similar VCs as well and supporting agencies. Next. Okay, Vietnam is an interesting one for me, right? Vietnam is, I think, is up and coming. They have those startups. In fact, they already have one unicorn, right? That unicorn is VNG. Yeah, VNG is a social network / e-commerce platform, right? In Vietnam only. So it's about less than 100 million people, but already a unicorn. FinHe is fintech, which does allow millennials to invest in mutual funds. Yeah. Eversafe is also very interesting. They're using blockchain, but not for currency, not for, but more for encrypting credentials. That means you have your certificate from your university, your birth certificate and so on. So actually they do blockchain so that when you send it online, it can be trusted in terms of its source and its content. So universities, this is another country that is very aggressive now for entrepreneurship. So RMIT is actually part Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. So they partner with university in Australia. So they set up RMIT University Vietnam, right? They already have a Bachelor of Entrepreneurship offered in RMIT, right? The next one is Vietnam Agricultural University. The last one, I'm sure you cannot read the word, is Hanoi University of Science and Technology, right? So again, these universities, there's a lot of courses in entrepreneurship, right? There's a few VCs there and very many supporting agencies as well, right? Next. Okay. So before that, I showed you that the various countries, each of them has their own unique character. Each of them has a list of VCs, universities for talent, startups, as well as agencies. So next, I want to share with you in terms of some statistics across the region. So looking at this, I always thought Indonesia would be the highest on time per day on mobile internet, right? So but it seems that Thailand is the highest, Philippines next, Indonesia third, right? So what this means is that any mobile application that can launch over there can be easily accessed by the market over there, right? And again, what very interesting thing that the top 4 of mobile usage is also the top 10 in the world, right? So not only the Southeast Asian market is huge, but the Southeast Asian market in terms of infrastructure-wise, people can access your digital solution, right? Whatever you offer on the internet. Actually, I'm also surprised to see Singapore is more than the US. Okay, next. Right. So this is very interesting for you all, right? So this is actually the internet economy, right? So it compares 2015 against 2019 and the projected one, right? So Indonesia is the largest and fastest growing, right? So over the 4 years, 2015-2019, it grew by 49%, right? So a lot of other countries like that. But what is interesting, by 2025, it will go to 13.3 billion. Huge. Gede banget. Yeah, right. So it's not fully maxed out yet, which means there's opportunity for new startups for you to grow your business in Indonesia, but also the other region. Okay. Next. Okay. So that was the profile of the 6 countries. Another way to measure the opportunities in each of these countries is to see where the investors are spending their money on. Right? So as a startup, yeah, you do here, you need to make sure eventually you have investors to fund your plans. If you want to expand to another country in ASEAN, you also need to find the investors that can put money for you to expand your plan, right? Next. Right. So this data is not for the unicorns, yeah? It's for only startups with either less than 10 million valuation or between 10 and 100 million valuation, right? So total was invested is $7 billion, yeah? And 2018 was a record. Huge jump from 2016, 17 to 2018, right? That's a lot of money, right? And if you look at first half 2018 and first half 2019, for those who are still studying, typically, in the business world, we do this comparison. So it shows that first half this year is slightly lower than first half of last year. So maybe it's expected to go down a bit, but could also maintain the same, right? So where is the money going through? Most of them are in B2B, edutech, health tech, right? E-commerce services, and as well as fintech. Okay. Next. Right. So zooming to Indonesia. Okay. So it's on track to match 2018 record. So 2018 was a high of 3.8 billion, and first half of 2019 compared to first half of 2018 is about the same. So looks like it's going to be met at 3.8 billion as well. So there's still a lot of money being put by VCs for startups over here. Okay. Next. Malaysia, it has dipped a bit. Right? So 2018 is a record as well, but if you compare first half 2018 versus first half 2019, there's a dip. So it shows that if you want to expand to Malaysia, looking for funding might be a bit tricky, right? But there's still people funding it, right? So these are important strategies as an entrepreneur before you expand. Right? One, of course, is the market. The other one, you need the fuel to expand to this market, and is the funding. Next. The Philippines, like the other region, 2018 was also a record, but 2019 seems to be going up, right? Next. Singapore. So Singapore investment in last year was 9.1 billion. And looking first half 2018 and first half 2019, 2019 is already higher than 2018, right? But what is interesting in Singapore, small market, there's startups, but startups market is not there. So Singapore, there's a lot of money invested in Singapore as part of the gateway for the region, right? So some startups need Series B, Series C round from international VCs and so on. Quite often, these VCs will want you to set up a Singapore entity, right? Business entity. Because Singapore is, not sombong yet, but it's the country where, in terms of doing business, is the easiest. In terms of transparency, is one of the highest. In terms of taking legal court action, also the easiest. So this is still safer if they put money in Singapore, right? So as a startup, and some of the unicorns are already doing that, actually the investor will put money in the Singapore entity, and then because Singapore entity is the parent of the Indonesian entity, for example, then you move the money across, right? So that's why in Singapore there's a lot of investment. Next. So Thailand is a dip. If you remember, most of the other countries, 2018 was a record, but Thailand is a dip. And then so far, comparing the first half last year and this year, it's about the same. Yeah. Next. Vietnam. Also interesting. So 2018 is highest, and you compare first half and second half, it's even growing higher. Right? So if you look at this, just to recap, among the 6 countries, there's a lot of money going in and continue to go up: Indonesia, Singapore, Vietnam. Right? Next. Next, please. Right. So just compare amount as well. So as I said, Singapore is the highest. So the number in orange is the total amount, and the number in black is the number of deals. Yeah? So it's Singapore highest, followed by Indonesia and Vietnam. But the gap between Indonesia and Vietnam is quite huge, and the gap between Indonesia and Singapore is quite huge. Yeah? Next. Okay. So in terms of unicorns, just now was funding for non-unicorns. So in terms of unicorns, 8.7 billion was invested. Compared half a year to half a year last year, is going up. And these are some of the unicorns in Southeast Asia. Right? So the unicorns are still getting money, and there's also a lot of money being poured in for the startups over there. Next. Okay, so now going to talk about unicorns. I think Indonesia has the biggest number of unicorns. You all should be proud of that. 5 of them. I don't have to go into detail. So one of them was here this morning as well. Right. Next. So Singapore, these are the 3 unicorns: Grab, Lazada, and C. Right. Grab is huge compared to the rest of them. Right. Next. So Vietnam, there's only one so far. Right. Okay. So next. Okay. So I've painted a picture for the various countries. Now coming back home. Right. So I say Indonesia, gede banget, right? I also want to share you some figures, right? And I think it's still continue to grow. Next, please. Right? So, population of 270 million, 60% are under 30. So, very young population, right? Active is only 150 million, active internet social media users, right? Which coincidentally, there's the population of Java as well, so I'm not sure there's the whole of Java. Yeah. And internet penetration is only 56%, and then the average time are those here, right? So what this slide tries to show, it can only grow some more, right? And I know President Johari has done a lot of initiatives to provide proper and reliable internet connection to the eastern part of Indonesia. As this grows, the only way that the market can grow, more people can access your application, more people can access and buy things online, things will grow some more, right? So I think there was another data that I read from PKBM, your government agency, right? In terms of online purchases, 34 out of the provinces, monthly online purchases, already the growth is higher than Jakarta. Interesting, right? So you think that only the people in the capital is buying a lot, but the other provinces are also buying a lot, right? Okay, next. Right. So I say internet penetration is only 56%, only 70% mobile, and these are the figures, semi-urban and rural. Once this figure go up, you're going to have access to all the 260 million users in Indonesia. Next. Some more figures, social media users about 130 million, it's only 48%, yeah, not even 50% yet, and these are the most active social media platforms. Next. I think I've told this figure before. So your GDP, you have a lot of unicorns, but your GDP is one of those few in ASEAN that has crossed $1 trillion. Right? So Indonesia is not a poor country, yeah. So and 1 in 32 people are entrepreneurs. Huge, right? Right. So why I wanted to show you this data, there's a lot of Indonesians out there are trying to do what you guys are doing, but how for you to do it better, right? Then most of the more than 50% in logistics, fintech, and e-commerce, right? I said about 1.8 billion funding raised, and you already have the largest number of unicorns, right? So very interesting market here for the locals, but also a lot of people from outside Indonesia also trying to get in the competition. Yeah? Next. So that's why Block 71 is Indonesia, right? So for those who were not in the video this morning, so Block 71 is an incubation program from NUS Enterprise, right? Why it's called Block 71? That was the address in Singapore, Block 71 Ayer Rajah Crescent. Right? So we have 7 locations globally. 3 of them are Indonesia: Jakarta, Bandung, and Jogja. Right? So in Indonesia, we partner with Innovation Factory, which is part of the Sazali group. So what we do is we are ecosystem builder. Ecosystem builder means that we create an innovation hub for tech entrepreneurs, right? And we aggregate startups, entrepreneurs, mentors, corporates who are the demand drivers who buys your business. We cooperate with universities for the talent as well, right? And then for those who have been to Block 71 Jogja will know that we organize a lot of programs for our community, right, to support them. Yeah. Next. Yeah. So Block 71 Jogja. So we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary yesterday. Not sure how many of you attended that. So we only opened in October last year. And in this 1 year, happy to say that we have about 31 startups. We have 100 plus events, and we have thousands and thousands of members in our community, right? So very interesting place, right? Next. And these are some examples of our startups in Block 71, Indonesia only, right? So, for example, you have the different categories: e-commerce, AI, and so on and so forth, right? Some are in Bandung, some are in Jakarta, some in Jogja, right? So, of all our startups, I think we have about 100 startups being incubated here. About 80% are Indonesian startups, 20% are from outside Indonesia. We have startups from Singapore, we have startups from Hong Kong, we have startups from Japan as well, trying to enter the Indonesian market. Yeah. Right. Next. Right. So I explained to you the various markets, but going regional, it has its challenges. Yeah. Like I said, ASEAN is not one big country, it's many countries, right? So many countries behave differently. Even Indonesia, one country, but there's so many islands, there's so many different groups, right? Last I read is that there are almost 18,000 islands in Indonesia with 7,000 dialects, right? Thankfully, everybody speaks Bahasa Indonesia, yeah? So when you go to this different country, of course, there are different languages, cultures, right? What is okay for one culture to say something might not be okay to the other one. Then the work behavior as well. Work behavior. Even in Indonesia, work behavior in Jakarta, Bandung, Jogja is different. Imagine if you cross countries. So that will be challenging, yeah. The other part is then the administration part. In different part of ASEAN, there are different ways to, or different challenges to start your business, right? Just example, in Singapore, I can open my own company in 10 minutes online, right? I've done it before, see in Starbucks, have internet, I open the company, that's it. In Indonesia, I think that so far we have helped some of our startups, fastest is 2 months, right? And in some other country, it's different as well. So you need to understand that. And then currencies, right? So maybe you sell, not just because of the exchange rate, maybe you sell something for 10,000 rupiah over here. If you just convert it to sell to Vietnamese dong by direct conversion, it might or might not work, right? Easier example, if in Singapore, I sell a product for $10, if I sell in Indonesia for 100,000 rupiah, I will not be able to sell it, right? So there's some consideration that you need to think about. Next. So this is the other part, that's what we do, it's Block 71. We also call Global Connector. So we help startups from Singapore expand to Indonesia, and we help startups from Indonesia expand to, go to Singapore to get funding as well, right? So we help you cross the different barriers, we help you connect to governments, we help you to connect to corporates for easy incorporation and for your customers. And we organize programs to help you do across, right? So today we are in 7 locations. Oh, it's a bit run off, yeah? So it starts with Singapore, San Francisco, and Jakarta in 2017, Suzhou in 2018, and Bandung in Jogja. Suzhou 2 is 2019, and then coming up next by Q2 next year, we will open another one in Vietnam, right? So what this means, if you are part of the Block 71 community, you are in Indonesia, you want to expand to Vietnam, we will help you. We will help you, right? So our vision is very simple. We can only be successful if our startups are successful. Not only in your own location, but also across other locations, right? Next. Next, please. Okay. So what's next? I've explained to different regions. There's a lot of unicorns and so on. So if you sitting out there want to do your own startup, how do you compete with all these big unicorns again, right? It has already been almost 10 years now, but there's a lot of internet players that provide a platform for e-commerce, that provide a platform for social media, right? That provide a platform for other stuff as well. But I think it was also asked this morning the question, how do I prevent somebody from copying my idea? Yeah? We've also seen that, for example, like Uber tried to enter here, but they cannot do it. So Grab was successful because you know the business model. But initially, the technology is not much different here. All ride-hailing app. Gojek also the same. But then they expanded to now super app to do more like fintech. But we believe, I think the next wave is about startup with deep tech. So what is deep tech? Deep tech is a research project that has your own patent, your own IP. That's very hard to copy or is protected, right? But deep tech also means that it takes a long time. Like you might ask me, only universities can do this. If I'm a startup, how do I spend research on it? Right? I need money, I need time, and by the time the market will have moved already, right? But we believe this is the next wave, right? So what I wanted to share with you is these upcoming programs which we in NUS Enterprise want to help startups attempt the next wave, right? So we hope these startups will have their own IP, their own technology to enter the Southeast Asia market. Next. So the first one is called Residential Accelerator Program. Okay, this is for startups or entrepreneurs where you will spend 3 months in NUS, right? So then we will then align you with research or professors in NUS with deep tech. For example, you already have a startup, you're looking for somebody in very specific AI technology, or you have a startup but you need somebody who already need something in the blockchain portion, or a startup that needs something new technology in the healthcare and so on and so forth, right? So during these 3 months, you will be exposed to these technologies, right? And then you can take it back, license it, and use in your own startup, right? But it's not easy as that, yeah? So having a technology and just incorporating it is not easy as that. So that's why we spend 3 months. We will guide you through a market validation, right? So we will tell you, okay, how do you go out there, meet customers, test whether this is something that they will buy, right? That's market validation. We also teach you about how do you do tech commercialization, right? So the whole idea now is then these startups can take this technology back. Yeah. So if you ask, why is NUS doing this? NUS spend a lot of money on research. Why is it, in a way, licensing it out to the other startups, right? Our vision is, remember, the Southeast Asia market is very big, and Singapore is very small, because Singapore startups or even professors who spin off their technology to do their own startup, eventually they will expand to Southeast Asia. So our vision is that we have a lot of startups in Southeast Asia using NUS technologies. All you have to do is license it. You don't have to spend money on researching and so on. Find something that will be applicable to you. We will help you to validate it. We will help you to commercialize it, bring back to your home country, and sell it. Right? So with this, I think that's the next wave, deep tech, that will help startups sort of compete with other startups and defend your business. Yeah? Okay, these are targeted for people who already have startups or professionals who are championing innovation and entrepreneurship, or innovation or digitalization in their own company. So corporate employees also can attend. Right? So as most of you are students here, so we have another program will be interesting for students. Next. Next. Yeah. This is a Master of Science in Venture Creation. Right? The requirement is that you have a bachelor's degree, and then you can spend 1 year in NUS. And unlike other masters, this is not a thesis-based master. You don't have to write thesis. It's more on experiential approach. Right? So you spend in Singapore 2 weeks summer program, like a startup boot camp. How do you do your startup? How do you look for funding? How do you do business education? And then you spend 1 semester attaching to startups in Singapore. Because we believe that the best way for you to learn about entrepreneurship is to be working for a startup. Right? And then the last semester, again, you will then be guided to form your own business. Again, you'll be exposed to NUS technology that you can then incorporate in your startup and bring it back. Right? So at the end of 1 year, you have a Master of Science degree from NUS. You have a technology that you can bring back into your startup, and you have a business. Right? And our target here, students-wise, ASEAN as well as China. Right? So maybe, I think the power is that when you're there, you'll be networking with other students from other parts of the world. For example, Indonesian student could partner with somebody from Vietnam. After the 1 year, you could start your startup either in Vietnam or even in Indonesia. Yeah. So I think this is also to support the next wave, which is startup with deep tech. Yeah. So something to think about. I just want to share today because I think if you just try to do the same what other startups have been doing, yeah, you cut the middleman to be the middleman. You try to do online shopping and so on. Yes, I think there's a market there. Like I said earlier on, Indonesia there's still a lot of market that's not that for. But to do something which can be even longer, defensible, can enter the region, startup with deep technology is the next wave. Right? Next, I think it's I think this is my last slide. So with that, thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum.